Minutes, Switzerland 3, the United States nothing. And a turnover by the U.S. in midfield is won by Switzerland. Yashari flares it out into the middle of the U.S. half. Manzambi with a left-footed strike, left top corner. Switzerland 4, United States nothing in the 36th minute, and now boos come down from the U.S. crowd. A turnover leads to a transition moment, and Johan Manzambi is staking his claim to the Swiss national team. The 19-year-old with an assist, and now his first career international goal on only his second appearance with Switzerland.
The United States right now are the architects of their own undoing. A poor giveaway, and now it's just reactive from the U.S. men's national team. They have done a poor job of being able to collapse centrally and collectively. It looks disjointed defensively from the U.S. men's national team, and it looks as though every player is looking at the person next to them and saying, what are you doing? Okay, now I need to act. At this level, that is too much time to give the opponent, and Switzerland have been ruthless, and the United States have not stepped up to be able to handle the constant onslaught of pressure from Switzerland.
Lucas Panzica and Jamie Watson, we caught up with them before yesterday's matchup with the USMNT in Switzerland. It was not a good night in Nashville. Courtesy of our friends at Westwood One, that was goal number 4 that was scored in the first 36 minutes. 4-0 final. It was 4-0 at the break. Swiss took the pedal off the gas in the second 45. 5 changes by Mauricio Pochettino for the second 45 minutes. And we'll hear from Pochettino coming up in just a little bit, once again, courtesy of our friends at U.S. Soccer. But no, it was not a good night for the USMNT. Final numbers in this matchup: 19 shots, 12 of them to Switzerland, 7 shots on goal, none for the U.S. 3 saves for Matt Turner, none needed for the Swiss. 8 corners on the night, 7 of them belonging to Switzerland. 18 fouls, 10 to Switzerland. 3 offsides on the night, and 2 of those were from Switzerland. Quinn Sullivan gets a yellow in the 41st. Nico Elvedi in the 51st. Aurele Amenda gets a caution in the 90th. Patrick Adjumong gets one at 90+2. Johnny gets one at 90+3 for tackle. The 4-person crew: Andrew Samuel from Trinidad and Tobago was the man in the middle. Jessica Morales, Elva Gutierrez from Mexico were your ARs. Chris Mason from Jamaica was your 4th. Starting lineup for the U.S.: Matt Turner in net, Nathan Harriel, Mark McKenzie, Walker Zimmerman, Max Arfston. Arfston was one of the ones that was substituted out to start the second half in favor of John Tolkien. Johnny, Sebastian Berhalter, Damian Downs was subbed in with 15 to go there. Paxton Aronson was subbed out at the half for Diego Luna. Brendan Aronson was subbed out at the half for Tim Ream. Quinn Sullivan subbed out at the half for Malik Tillman. Brian White subbed out at the half for Patrick Adjumong. Matt Freese, Chris Brady, Chris Richards, Jack McGlynn, Miles Robinson, Luca Della Torre, Alex Freeman, Haji Wright not used. For the Swiss, not used: Sylvain Vidmer, Marvin Keller, Vincent Sierro, Fabian Reeder, Cedric Zessiger, Ivan Mavogo, and Ulysses Garcia. Murat Yakin gets the win. Starting Gregor Kobel in net, Isaac Schmidt, who was subbed with 25 to go by Lucas Blondell, Nico Elvedi, who was subbed by Amenda with 18 to go, Manuel Akanji subbed out at the half for Stefan Gartenmann, Ricardo Rodriguez subbed out at the half for Miro Muheim, Granit Xhaka subbed out with 24 to go by Jibril Sow, Johan Manzambi, you heard the highlight there from Lucas Panzica, Arden Jashari subbed out with 6 to go for Remo Freuler. Michel Abisher subbed out for Zeki Amdouni with about 20 to go. Dan Indoy and Brielle Mbolo was your roster for the Swiss on the night. Goal in the 13th by Indoy from Jashari. Goal in the 23rd from Abisher by the assist to Manzabi. Mbolo scored in the 33rd. Manzabi scored in the 36th, and it was pretty much done at that point. Announced crowd of 20,602 at Geodis. Sebastian Berhalter makes his USMNT debut. Seventh father-son combo to play for the U.S. men's national team. Fourth brother duo with the Aaronsons to do it in the same match. Almost 100 years to the day for the first instance when Archie and Tommy Stark started an away friendly at Canada June 27, 1925. Joined by the Murphy brothers in 1957 and the Nanshoffs in 1979. Walker Zimmerman started his second international match at 25 in his club stadium. Damian Downs makes his debut. First-time call-up, tallied 10 goals in 29 matches for Cologne as they regained promotion in the Bundesliga. Tyler Adams, once again, minor foot injury kept him out of the match. Most senior member of the starting 11 was Matt Turner, wore the captain's armband after Matt Freese started Saturday against Turkey. It was cap number 52 for Turner. USMNT's only win in 10 all-time meetings with Switzerland was a 1-0 win in Basel in 2007, drawn and lost 4. USMNT has not won any of its 4 home matches against Switzerland, having drawn 3 and lost 2. The only opponent the U.S. has hosted at least 4 times without ever recording a win. Let's hear from Mauricio Pochettino after the match. Here was how things started off, once again, courtesy of our friends at U.S. Soccer.
I think how we assess the first half and then the whole game. I think, first of all, I think it's of course, it's our responsibility and my responsibility of the decision of the choice of the starting 11, because I think we wanted to give the possibility to the old roster to have minutes and play for different circumstances, and I think that is a risk that we took. And I think that if something can go in, in a wrong direction, was in a wrong direction from the beginning. I think we never were on the game. Again, a very good team like Switzerland, with experienced player and a team that is playing really well. I think that was, my first thought. That not to blame, of course, the player, is to blame ourselves, because I think that was our decision. And I think in the combination of, the starting 11 of the team, I think wasn't, now, after 90 minutes, the best. That is about to learn and say, okay, move on. I think in the second half, in the halftime, we try to change the system and to provide more calmness and to the team, changing the system with 3 central back and do some changes. I think in the second half, the positive thing that the team match to Switzerland in all the areas, and that is a positive thing that we need to take from today. We need to say, blame ourselves, the criticize for us, because I think that was my decision, and that decision didn't work. And when that doesn't work, you need to be criticized with yourself.
Criticizing himself. Obviously, Mauricio Pochettino says we got the starting 11 wrong. And you noticed in the highlight that we played in goal number 4, Jamie Watson mentioned the lack of communication at the back as a part of the entire process. There was one that was a mistake by Matt Turner, and then there were others where you had a turnover that creates transition, that creates opportunity, that creates a goal. Pars to your question, and this is a larger thought across the board. Someone who's starting to follow the USMNT, are people overreacting? I think it's amplified today in social media, especially with social media being what it is these days. Remember what the starting lineup was, and remember who wasn't there. In the conversation that we had with Jamie Watson yesterday, you kind of have an idea whom in a perfect world, 1 through 11 are going to be. My thought was that these 2 matches lean itself into trying to figure out slots 12 through 26, 12 through 28, take your pick, 12 through 30-ish. And you had folks that solidified decisions one way or the other. Social media being what it is, you are going to get overreactions. And literally, all you have to do is go onto social media, and one social medium in particular, where you do the hashtag USMNT, and literally, sky is falling, everything is ish. It's the worst we've been in over a decade, all that kind of stuff. So it was one of those where you're like, yeah, it was bad. And like I said, Mauricio Pochettino is, he's sitting there and he's like, yep, we had this starting 11 figured out, and this was a mistake. This starting 11, we got it wrong. And you look at that group. Once again, let's go over the starting lineup. Let's go over the starting lineup with folks that are not here. Starting lineup: Turner, Harrell, McKenzie, Zimmerman, Arfston, Johnny, Berhalter, Aronson, Quinn Sullivan, Brian White. You did not use Matt Freese, Chris Brady, Chris Richards, McGlynn, Miles Robinson, Luca Del Torre, Alex Freeman, Haji Wright. You've got a lot of your European big guns that were not a part of this roster because they are coming off of their competition seasons. Understandably so. And then part of the discussion on social media is, okay, well, why aren't you representing your country? Well, I just finished a season. And then you go down rabbit holes and things like that. Now, this will go to a larger point. So you end up with what happens, and you end up with trying to figure out slots 12 through 26, possibly even 1 through 11. And you end up with a long night like you had in Nashville. To the larger point of social media being what it is, you're going to get overreactions. I know that shocks each and every one of you. Overreactions on social media? Oh, my God. You got to be kidding me. People overreact on social media? No, that never happens. But you end up with the example now on a national scale instead of local scales and things like that. He's on the lanai again this week. And I'm sure that he's quite pleased with the fact that the Wi-Fi is actually working out on the lanai. So we bring in Tyler. Sir, we are discussing, and I figured that you might have an opinion or two about what happened last night in Nashville. Pars is asking, as someone who is starting to follow the USMNT, are people overreacting? The answer would be, it's a day that ends in Y involving sport. But yeah, the literally after what happened last night, the reaction, literally, you do the USMNT hashtag, it is off the rails, off the scale, and we all need to kind of come back here. It's like, come on back. It's okay. It's okay. It's okay. Doors open. You can go ahead. You don't have to knock. You can come on in. It's okay. Everything's fine.
Pars, I will say, I mean, yes, everybody's overreacting. I think everybody has a right to be frustrated for sure.
Oh, absolutely, yes.
I mean, these have been poor performances as a whole. But the really cool thing about international soccer is that everybody tends to try to look at it in a club lens, and it doesn't work that way. When you look at international soccer, country soccer in a club lens, you think that you have to look at it, with this fine-tooth comb and, the little tweaks and tactical changes and the players that get called in and out of camp and the drama surrounding it and all that other stuff. At a club level, that stuff is emphasized way more. But on a country level, in my opinion, you see these things happen, and by the next cycle, it's going to be done news. Now, it'll get brought up for sure, right? Like, nobody's forgetting about it, but it's not like, you have a game week after week after week, and things just kind of pile on, and there's really never any room for it to go away. Mm-hmm. In the sense of the U.S., I mean, what happens in the World Cup a year from now could be massively different than what's going on right now. Now, I don't think that's like a glass half full look necessarily. I just think it's that the entire system and the amount of talent and players that the U.S. has, and most countries have, can change a lot in a full calendar year. So, I mean, they need work. I'm not even going to sit here and try to, blow smoke, like 100%. Like, these are not great performances at all. Like, that was terrible last night. Mm-hmm. But it's not all doom and gloom and like the world's not lost. And if you know anything about Mauricio Pochettino, when he comes into anywhere that he's been, he takes a minute to get going in general. And you just kind of have to hope that trusting the process is what has to happen here, because he's the guy, unless he decides to randomly pull, cut bait and go somewhere else, which I very seriously doubt. And he would become the most hated person in U.S. soccer if he did that. He's the guy. And so I think he knows the game. He knows how to motivate players. And I genuinely think by next year, the U.S. will be in a better position than they are now.
Well, and I went over the lineup last night, and I've maintained that you're looking at possibly slots 7 through 11, if you're looking at a ranking system, what have you, 7 through 11 maybe, and then 12 through 26 or 12 through 28 or 12 through 30. You're trying to figure out, okay, when I need somebody in an international situation, who can I dial up and count on and sit there and be comfortable with that choice? It's not, these individuals that I'm trotting out here, they're going to be starting. They're going to be starting every day. Damn the torpedoes. I don't care who isn't here. This is my starting lineup. That's not what we're looking at here. I know that the Gold Cup, you'll have amplified importance about that starting lineup, but in these two friendlies, yes, the world fell down, but this is not going to be the starting 11 that you're trotting out unless you have 95 players injured, and I'm being somewhat facetious in that. This is not your starting 11 of your starting 11s. This is not your A plus group. This is not that record that is registering a 92 on the scale. This is like the 75 that you're trying to figure out, okay, do I like the rhythm here? Okay, I like that bass line. I want to try and figure out, do I like this band? This is a different layout from what you would anticipate because of the names that are not here. You're trying to figure out if the dudes that I've called in can be the dudes to help out the dudes that I want for my Class A lineup.
Yeah, I mean, in a lot of ways, this is still a set of tryouts for Pochettino's team. And I see Wile E. Coyote's like, yeah, that's the thing. Then this is where I struggle. It doesn't help build the hype around next year. I mean, you look at, I'm not trying to like transition this to something else.
No.
But like you have the Club World Cup starting in a couple of days, and we see the ticket prices and we see all the people talking about like the lack of hype and everything else. You look at the stadium last night, but at the end of the day, like these games, they were glorified friendlies. And I think you get to the Gold Cup and then you start really asking questions. But I think for Pochettino, this is a matter of like, I really want to know specifically who I'm calling to the World Cup in a year. And I need to know without a shadow of a doubt that selection of guys is going to be the ones that I know I can do something with. And if Diego Luna, if I pull him in, he still continues to ball out, then maybe he deserves a shot, and I think you've seen some guys, maybe they're just not ready for the occasion, and that's unfortunate. But, when you represent your country, it's all about those big moments, and it's all about trying to make something happen when maybe the deck is stacked against you. And last night, like that was a tough performance. It was awful.
Yep.
So, I mean, I think when you look at it from a coaching perspective and taking away all the other drama that happened, with Pulisic and all that, which I'm sure y'all have talked about at some point on the show.
Well, right, to a larger point, and that'll be what we talk about next.
But you take away all that, and it's just Pochettino's coming in. He has a mandate. He has a job that he's trying to do, and he said, like, I'm not going to stick with the same guys that have been kind of floating around and locked in for the past, X number of years. Like, and you can't do that in one game. You can't do that in one cycle. You can't do that in two cycles. Like, it takes time to really figure out what you're working with. And I agree with what he did and what he said he was going to do with, bringing in guys that are actually playing minutes for their club teams and not just random guys that are in Europe, maybe on the bench all the time. Like, it makes sense to me. Now, now you've got to see who the hype was really there for and who it wasn't.
Yeah, and then there's one position between the sticks where somebody
Yeah.
really needs some playing time.
Yeah, a lot.
A lot.
And apparently that's maybe going to change soon.
Well,
But
is the check going to clear? Just asking.
Yeah. There's a random money being pulled out of couch cushion somewhere.
Mhm.
I feel like it's kind of like that thing where you went out and bought the 100-inch TV and you put it on the credit card, and then all of a sudden, like, oh, the debt man comes calling, and then you're like scrambling to, oh, let me go get like a 50-inch TV, but I've got to pay for it in cash. And that's what's happening with said ownership group.
So you get a FIFA judgment. We talked about that last week, where FIFA judgment 3+ interest and then 18+ interest in various sections of a year's worth of interest. And then yesterday it comes across that Matt Turner might be moving from one club to another, and the club of the first part it's like, yeah, €8 million. Okay, well, is this like, so are you to the point where you're serving number 2 right now, or are you still serving number 1 and number 2 is trying to cut in line because it's less money?
Yep.
It's one of those things that they're kind of staring at right now. And for those that might have missed it, Matt Turner is allegedly, possibly, maybe moving from Nottingham Forest to Lyon for €8 million. And then for those that Dell is maybe not necessarily wrong. Lyon is not answering the phone. But Lyon, it was judged and adjudicated by the FIFA that they apparently owe Atlanta United over the transaction of an individual who scored for his club last night when they were down a man to equalize in a very important match for the rest of CONMEBOL, not necessarily for themselves, except just to get a result. That a particular Eagle Football Holdings allegedly owes Atlanta United upwards of $21 million plus interest over the transaction of that individual who scored last night for his 10-man team in Argentina. So we'll take care of this one because it's got less money. It's like, oh, look, sofa pizza and a couple of nickels. There we go. So we'll figure it out with that. So that's the Matt Turner situation. Matt Freese might have pushed himself a little further up the line. Zach Steffen is out with an injury, and he's getting treated for a surgery with his knee, and I think he's slated to be out 4 to 6 weeks for the Rapids, and that's never good news out with the Rabid Prairie Dogs and the rest of their season. So the keeper situation for the USMNT is one where you're scratching your head, but you need reps. And I know that we could probably talk to Brad Gazan about needing reps when it comes to being a national team keeper.
Yeah, I was going to say, I'm trying to look at kind of like what he's looked at lately. But I think, you're one of your next guys that you've got to look at would be, now again, it's a year from now, sticking to what we were saying earlier, but you got to look at Ethan Horvath.
Is Ethan getting minutes?
He is. Yeah, he is.
Okay.
He last played May 3rd for Norwich, against Norwich. Yeah, he's getting 90 minutes.
Okay.
Fairly consistently, it looks like.
Checking.
But that's the thing, though. I mean, at the end of the day, that's the most important thing for a keeper is you've got to be getting minutes. And like, we have that conversation about Atlanta United all the time. Maybe not so much this year, but I still have PTSD from it a couple of years ago when Brad got injured, and then you went through 857 different goalkeepers over the course of a year. And it's like, you need minutes. Like Josh Cohen right now, last year, we'll use that as an example. He got put in, obviously, for the Open Cup. There was that moment Brad got a red card, had to miss a game. He got put in for that one. And he wasn't the best, but his talent's there.
Yeah.
But you can't expect a guy to just step onto the field like that and just perform, amazingly. Essentially coming in cold. So that honestly is one of my biggest concerns going into next year, is because I feel like and I don't remember the game or set of games, and honestly, I think it was after the last World Cup, Matt Turner has not been that guy that he was to the same degree. So you've got to get that figured out, because you need somebody. I mean, this is not going to be, what was it, 2010?
I was going to say, you're working math back.
And I am working math backwards.
15 years ago.
Yeah, with Tim Howard.
Yeah.
I mean, you hope you have kind of like those kind of performances, but like, you need somebody that is playing confident. And I don't know that any of the goalkeepers right now, Zach Steffen maybe to a degree, obviously until he got injured, but I just don't know that any of them are playing very confident right now.
Well, and so the biggest thing about Zach Steffen is trying to develop working the ball with his feet.
Yes.
They're not necessarily distribution with the hands and saving ability, but it's that one, the third element, working the ball with your feet and trying
controlling it
and work it to the edges. Dell wondering if they played Matt Turner trying to give him a platform to finalize a deal. I don't think so. I think it was you're thinking about things in that prism, Dell, of, okay, I got to focus on what's going on in front of me. And if it ends up being a collateral element of it where, oh, he played well, and then Nottingham Forest and Eagle Football Holdings can sit there and go, ooh, look, we're moving on a player who did really well for his national team, or Leon would be like, oh, we're getting a guy who played really well for his national team, and now they're like, oh, okay, so that happened in Nashville. So you have, I don't know if I don't think that they were playing him just to try to finalize a deal. I think it was, honestly, you're trying to get the man reps to see if he wants to take that number one mantle and be the guy, capital T, capital G. But last night did not help matters when it came to that. So, then you end up, we talked about keeper, and then you've got striker, where obviously, front row, a lot of the big guns. And this is why I said you're looking at 7 through 26 or 12 through 26 as opposed to 1 through 11 because of who wasn't there. Everybody on the front row, you're looking for a second. You're looking for another guy. You know who the guys are going to be, capital T, capital G, but you're looking for other guys, and you're waiting for somebody else to sit there and once again grab that mantle and grab the reins and sit there and go, yep, I'm in. And they've put Big Pat out there for a match and a half. And, I think it's still a work in progress with Patrick Ajimong, but you understand the why where that was concerned.
Yeah, I totally understand the why. And I think it's so frustrating from a fan perspective that nobody will, I mean, this has been for years. Nobody will just take that number 9 spot and just grab it and make it their own.
Yeah.
Because you've had, this kind of like rotating group over the past, really, 6 years, 7 years. I mean, it's been a while. And you've had some good performances, but you haven't had that guy that just, just like you do in club football, that when he's up there, there's danger at every single moment. At any minute, he could make something happen out of nothing. It just hasn't been that. I mean, and I think trying to roll out.
Oh, that was a heavy sigh.
Yeah, it was. This is how I feel about this team right now. I think Ajimong is the one that you had to go with because he's been in form. Probably one of your better USMNT players that have been called up in the past couple cycles, just consistent. And then he's actually, he's been doing well with Charlotte. Obviously Diego Luna's not playing as a 9, but I think he's obviously done well for himself. Then you go and you look back at the kind of the rest of that striker pool, and it's like, besides moments of brilliance, who is stepping up and really saying, like, I deserve a spot in 1 year when we play in our home country in the World Cup? I don't know that you've got anybody that you could just say for sure is locked in.
3 saves from Matt Turner, 2 saves from inside the box, 39 touches, 23 of 33 passing at 70%, 4 of 14 on long balls, and a bunch of zeros across the board in other categories. Punches, high claims, key passes, crosses, clearances, blocks, all the defensive categories. It's a lot of zeros for Matt Turner, who punched a 6.2, according to our friends at SofaScore. Everybody who's in the starting 11, by the way, last night for the U.S., punched a 6+. They were between 6.0 and 6.6, I think was the highest rate.
So fascinating to me. I have it pulled up on FOTMob, and it's a totally different rating scale.
Okay, so what was FOTMob's rating scale?
Well, Matt got of course, it's still out of 10, but Matt got an even 5.
Understood.
Honestly, the only person that broke all the subs that came in. So Tolkien, Ream, Malik Tillman, Diego Luna, Pat, and Damian Downs all hit 6s or above, which is good.
Mm-hmm.
The only one that hit above a 7 was Malik Tillman.
Yeah.
Brian White with a 5.6. Cardoso with a 5.1. Berhalter with a 5.1. But the lowest by far was, in fact, Matt Turner.
Yeah, not a surprise.
Yeah.
Then Ropes mentions what TT put out on the 280 character app, mentioning the Gold Cup roster back in 21, where it was Turner, Reggie Cannon, James Sands, Miles, George Bello on the left-hand side, Eric Williamson, Kellen Acosta, Sebastian Lletget, Paul Arriola, Jossie Zardes, and Matthew Hoppe. And so 0 buzz around anything, hosting the World Cup in a year. And in the fan base, player pool, coaches, and federations, 0 buzz. Well, I mean, they are getting discussed, but it's
not in the best way.
No. And this was, and right now you're going into the Gold Cup, and I will be intrigued how Mauricio Pochettino responds in a Gold Cup setting. So this literally, folks talking about what was going on. Yes, there are things that you can refer to, but those were friendlies leading into the Gold Cup. And now you've sit there and you look at the Gold Cup. That's the next marker on the board. How do they respond from what happened in these 2 friendlies to what's happening, what's anticipated in the Gold Cup? Then I think that you have better markers, but once again, you're still building toward a year from now. Much like the National Training Center, you are building to a year from now, and you want everything to be unveiled, and you want it to be just right, where your 11 is your 11, your studs are your studs, you know who's coming in, and that's where we are. And so the fact that folks mentioned 4 years ago, that's cool and everything. And I know that you want to sit there and compare coaches, and you want to ish on coaches, which is, I think, kind of in a backhanded way what that pictogram was all about on the 280 character app, but that's just me. Social media used to ish on people. Gee, that never happens.
I know. It's like wild. This is like unheard of. I think Pochettino, again, I mean, y'all know my feelings. I love Mauricio Pochettino.
Yeah.
Been kind of going back to what I said earlier. Club and country football are 2 different beasts. And my only concern is simply that, for everything I said about how things can change a lot between cycles and obviously a full calendar year.
Yeah.
To me, it seems clear that Pochettino's trying to kind of force implement the style that he wants this team to play, no matter who he calls up. And I mean, you can't look last night and say that there was a semblance of an identity. I think it was pretty rough. I think the biggest gamble, roll of the dice that he's dealing with right now is, can he get that group and whatever group he happens to bring in, for the big showdown in a year, can he get his style implemented between now and then?
And there aren't a whole lot of tournament opportunities.
Exactly.
And that's the hook here. So your Gold Cup roster, just so we know, going in, Matt Turner, and this is numerically. This is not but with any kind of favoritism whatsoever. This is numerically, according to our friends at CONCACAF. Matt Turner, John Tolkien, Chris Richards, Tyler Adams, who had an ouchie, and we don't know to the extent of it, and that's why he didn't play last night. Better to be safe leading into the Gold Cup than not. Walker Zimmerman, Jack McGlynn, Quinn Sullivan, Sebastian Berhalter, Damian Downs, Diego Luna, Brendan Aronson, Miles Robinson, Tim Ream, Luca De La Torre, Johnny, Alex Freeman, Malik Tillman, Max Arfston, Haji Wright, Nathan Harriel, Paxton Aronson, Mark McKenzie, Brian White, Patrick Ajimong, Matt Freese, and Chris Brady. So pretty much the same group that you had in those 2 friendlies is rolling over to the Gold Cup, and we will see what continuity can do in the learning process with Mauricio Pochettino leading this group into the Gold Cup. So that's your lineup, and your folks 1 through, is it legitimately 1 through 26? Is every number 1, 2, 3, 4, 5.
I think so.
Yeah, I think it is sequentially. So those are the 26 dudes. They didn't skip a number. That's what I was checking to see if they skipped a number. But that's your 26 going into the Gold Cup, and that is going to be starting at post haste. Glenn Crooks is coming up in hour number 2, and I asked him. I said, Glenn, do we know why there's a match on a Thursday in the Bronx? And he didn't know why there was a match at Thursday in the Bronx, unless you wanted to be just the big dog and be the only show in town across an entire league as everybody comes back to playing. Unless you're in like the Club World Cup or something where you're almost everybody is playing. But there's a match Thursday in the Bronx, and no one from NYC who is out on international duty is going to be playing. So it looks like it's going to be Tomas Romero in net for NYC, and you will not have other folks up top, which means that Bakrar is going to be starting in your attack. But once again, at the U12 pitch in the Bronx, anything is possible. So with the races against time for the 12 to 14 Atlanta United folks coming back to this particular part of the planet, what kind of a match are you anticipating?
An absolute cluster. I mean, it's so hard to play with any sort of true identity. It's hard for New York City, if we're being honest, to play with an identity on a baseball field. But they make it work because that's their home field, and they develop a style that fits playing in such a small, confined space. Man, you're going to have at least some of your quick guys from an Atlanta perspective. It's going to be ugly football. I think you just kind of have to own that and say, hey, we're going to go. It's going to be ugly. It's going to be wild. The defenders, you need to be
you need to be on the entire time.
Yeah, I mean, you've got to be switched on and be precise, be aggressive. And I think you have to go into it with that mindset that it doesn't matter what the other side of the pitch does. We're coming out of here with a clean sheet.
Yeah.
Now if we can snag a goal or two or whatever, and Atlanta's done it on the baseball fields before, then I think you have a chance here. I think, and obviously not all of them are going to be here, but we talked last week about what this international break would do for Atlanta United players.
Yeah,
and we kind of touched on our show and on the website, but essentially most of the Atlanta United players, first team, second team, academy, all of them have had pretty good international windows so far. So you kind of hope that they're coming back with a little bit of renewed vigor, and you can then look at the guys that have been here the whole time, and Dyla has, kind of tweaked things, fine-tuned things a little bit, and they come out and they look also at the fact that this is the beginning of the second half of the season, and they say, hey, wipe the slate clean. Let's go up to New York. Let's start this second half of the season off right. Forget what happened the first time around, and the season's not over yet. But no matter what, it's going to be ugly. You're playing on a tiny pitch. It's not often that you can play, beautiful football in such a confined space.
What?
I know that's wild.
That's a confined space? What?
I don't know.
Ask Peter Vermes how confined it is. But it is regulation.
It is regulation.
So to recap, Luis Abram out for Peru, Miggy out for Paraguay. And the video that the Hoff and Diego Pinzon have been releasing from their field trip down there has been nothing short of cool.
Yes.
Luke Brennan for the U20s, DCQ for the U18s, Noah Cobb for the U20s, Jay Fortune, who played last night for Trinidad and Tobago in their CONCACAF qualifier that they lost 2-1. Latte Lot for Ivory Coast, but all he had to do was play 2 friendlies as a part of the Canadian Shield, sponsored by the Nationalistic Tire Company, I believe.
And he scored his pen.
And so all he's got to do is navigate the security lines and the travel from the QEW to Pearson, and Pearson flying into JFK. So, maybe he gets to get late checkout at the hotel and kind of fly over today and meet everybody else as they fly up this afternoon. So I think that Latte Lot might have the easiest travel plan of everybody. Saba scored for Georgia, and he's coming back from Europe. Efren Morales for Bolivia, Bart Slisch, who scored for Poland. He's coming back. But, yeah, there are some folks that are going to be traveling back today and are going to be traveling back today, meaning, more than one stop. And it's like, okay, great, I got a layover. This is great. So how long is the layover? 3.5. Oh, great. Yeah. So, I mean, this is going to be adventures in travel. I mean, Rick Steves ain't got nothing on Atlanta United and the 12 to 14 players that are trying to work their way back to this part of the planet.
Yeah, it's a lot, and it's from everywhere. And one of the ones you mentioned, Slisch, I think one thing I'm really curious about with him is there was a little bit of drama with the Polish national team kind of at the end of this window. And I don't know that it's going to affect him, but it clearly, like, the team was rather upset about some decisions, some things that were said. But I still feel like this was a great opportunity for a lot of these guys to build some confidence and kind of reset. And some of them are going to have to play tomorrow.
Yeah.
The ones that can, because you also have to remember you have a lot of time after this. Like, this is that weird one game in the middle of, the ocean.
Yeah.
And then after that, you have more time off.
Yeah.
So if you can give me 30, and let's go make it count. You're not having to run as much because, again, you're playing on a baseball field.
Yeah.
So it's not like you're covering, the amount of space and everything that you would like at the bins. So these guys that can be there, that can make the team sheet, you're going to have to rely on all of them, because it is not going to be an 11 guy effort. This is going to be,
No.
the full 11 guys plus the subs.
Yeah. So, I mean, if we workshop this through, it's probably some combination. And like I said, this is taking travel and assuming the worst case travel scenarios, that it's probably something along the lines of what? Pedro, Ronald, Derek, Brooks, Click, Alexi, unless Alexi went back to play in Russian national friendlies not recognized internationally. You don't have Togashi. You don't know what your recovery is right now involving Tristan Muyumba. It's probably Jamal. Who am I missing here? What am I, as we're workshopping this, what am I missing?
Let's see. I mean, Brooks Lennon was the odd one because he's kind of had that lingering injury, but I think if he can play, he's going to have to play. Let's see. You said Click.
Yeah. So it was Pedro, Ronnie, Derek, Brooks as your back four, probably. And I don't think you need 5 at the U12 pitch.
No.
Football pitch in the Bronx.
I hope not.
You need folks just kind of jammed into space. So Click, like I said, Alexi, Jamal. So that's, and Brad is 8.
Throw in Brad so I can get my numbers right. Yeah.
So
Brad
with a back 4. Matt Edwards makes it 9. And then trying to figure out who races in and turns into 10 and 11 up top. I guess it would be like, if you sit there and you try to figure out what it's going to look like up top, that might be what you're staring at.
Yeah, I'm just thinking of, because like you said, I don't know that like Tristan.
I don't know where Tristan is.
I don't know that he's going to be. Who else? Man, this is tough.
I know, and that's why I was trying to, because this was one of the questions that a lot of folks were wondering. It's like, well, do you want to be? And this is one that Garth has answered. Do you want to have a club that has all of these call-ups, or do you want to be a club that doesn't have these call-ups?
You throw in Will Riley.
Yeah, Will Riley. I like that. There you go.
So, I actually kind of like that.
Yeah,
that combination in the midfield, because Will Riley's going to give you the legs and some aggression. Mm-hmm. Click's going to give you hopefully some good through balls and stuff like that, and then you can just go really hard at New York.
That in the Ish housing that you'll need.
Yeah,
I mean, Ish houser extraordinaire, absolutely true. Yeah, so
I'd be okay with that lineup.
And Eddie, Fast Eddie.
Yeah,
and so I think that might get you to what you so you're looking at Matt, Jamal, Mosqueda, Click, Will Riley, back 4, and Brad. Yeah, so okay. And then just trying to figure out, okay, who's flying back, who do I have, and how many minutes can you give me? So.
Yeah.
And then you get 2 weeks off or 13 days off, and then it's 2 matches in 4 days where you're at Columbus and at the Erector set. So welcome back,
Yeah, it's going to be fun.
So I mean, it's as you look at the second half of the season, the one element in that, it's like, okay, we're playing on a Thursday, but we got 13 days to get it all figured out and squared away before we play 2 and 4, and it just happens to be at Columbus and in Fort Lauderdale.
Yeah, and I guess glass half full, Columbus is struggling right now.
Struggling, yes.
And Miami will be in the middle of the Club World Cup.
Well, yeah, and then that's the other thing is that if they are in the Club World Cup and they're kind of busy, then do you end up having to reschedule that match?
Yeah.
Which creates schedule compression for Messi and friends, and they're over 30 legs later on in the year.
Yeah. So, I mean, and then maybe a little bit of PTSD from the end of the season last year.
I mean,
yeah, I mean, it's definitely an interesting end to the month because we all went into this, and I'm not about to like chicken and egg this scenario. I mean, they got to go win the games, but New York City, you kind of have some pieces there that you can make work. I think if you go into it with the right game plan, and the right mentality, first and foremost, you have a chance. Columbus struggling. You just have to hope that, like many teams, Atlanta is not their get right game.
Yeah.
And then Miami, coin toss, because either A, they're going to be tired from just the nonstop Club World Cup stuff, or B, it might have to get pushed back.
Or you end up with the porous defense that literally the knothole gang of defense. Yeah. It literally it's like you could give up 5 and get into a 5-4 or a 6-5 with them, or they could be mad and then they could score 5, and then I mean, you literally do not know which Messi and friends version you're going to get from the Justice League.
Yeah. So I mean, through the rest of June.
Yeah.
It's an opportunity. It really is for Atlanta, and I think they have to acknowledge that and go grab it, make it happen.
Yes. Club World Cup. Speaking of which, are you looking forward to it? Or are you looking at it as something else that's going to be picking up time? What do you think of the Club World Cup? I haven't yet to ask you this.
Oh, I'm excited. I mean, I am excited about it. I think, I kind of talked about a little bit about it, I think last week or whatever, but I wish that it had more vibe outside of the soccer bubble.
Yeah.
And I know that they've been trying to promote it to a degree. I just don't know that it's getting the eyeballs that it probably deserves and should. But it's a fun tournament. Like, this is an opportunity to see, like, look, right now, I think we put it up on Twitter earlier, but right now you can go watch Man City for like $33 in Mercedes-Benz Stadium.
They got the 20% off coupon finally?
Yeah, they got something. But I think that's the thing is a little discouraging, just because, ticket prices dropping are a sign of maybe a lack of interest. But I think more than that, it's also like, we don't want to pay that much money to go see some of these games. It's not that we don't want to go see these teams. It's just that that's a lot of money, man. Like, not everybody is, money bags over here.
What?
That can go and see these teams and follow them all around to wherever they're playing at and everything else. And I can only imagine for people traveling here from outside the country, like, how much money they're having to spend. So, I mean, overall, I just think, like, I'm excited about it, and we'll be covering it. I just wish it had a little bit more like national hype in maybe non-soccer streams in the US.
Mm-hmm.
But there's only so much you can do about that. So.
Yeah. All right. So let's take a look at the ticket prices, shall we? Where it goes, FIFA Club World Cup tickets artist. That's what you look at when you're looking at what you're staring at here. So just for and promoted in the Club World Cup choices of matches, promoted Jim Gaffigan. Everything is wonderful at Symphony Hall, right there in the middle of it, as a promoted element.
That is amazing.
So let's see. So Chelsea and LAFC, 3:00 on Monday afternoon. Let's just for the sake of argument, if you don't have anything going on, and you're done watching General Hospital on Monday, get in price in the 200 level, $52.40. $52.40 to get in, standard admission in the 200 level for that particular matchup. No seats are available in the end zone up high in the 300s. You can pay, if you want to get into the 300 level up top, you can pay anywhere from $73.35 to $146.70, or $104 if you wanted to be literally in the 300 level, right at midfield, like right there at midfield in the 300 level. You're paying north of $100. But if you know where to look, you can pay $52.40 to get into section 219, or you can pay $228.60 or more if you wanted to be like at section 212 and be like right there at the 50 and get into the 200 level. So that's what you're staring at with the LAFC and Chelsea. The Hard Rock, by the way, Al-Akhli on Saturday, involving Messi and friends at 8:00. $79.46 to get into the end zones in the 346s. You can pay $336. You can get into the corners for like $79.40. So basically $80. End zone in the 300 level for $90 to get into the Hard Rock, $80 in the other one. If you want to get into the 300 level and be above the club level, it's $143. So the dynamic pricing. I feel like I need to go dynamic pricing
with a little bit of music in the background.
Yeah, dynamic pricing, pew pew. So it's still kind of out there a little bit, but I will be intrigued as to what Mercedes-Benz, technically what the Hard Rock is going to look like, and then everybody coming forward, what it's going to look like on Monday with Chelsea and LAFC. I am intrigued to see what capacity is and what it looks like in that building for everybody. And apparently LAFC was mailing another hat yesterday.
Yeah. We haven't found out where that went to, right?
No, we have not.
All right.
No, we have not found out where that hat has been mailed to. We have yet to see someone do the head tilt up to expose their face, where in years past it has been folks like Bob Bradley, where the head is tilted down. You see the LAFC, the winged beast, and then you tilt up and you go, Bob Bradley.
Yeah.
We've yet to see who that individual is who's tilting their head up this time.
Everybody's like, oh, it's going to be Ronaldo. I think Ronaldo came out and said he's not playing in it.
Look at Al Nassr. I think he said he was re-upping at Al Nassr.
Yeah, but hey, maybe he's pulling the long con. I don't know. We'll see. They're also going to be training down in Macon, which is neat.
Yes. Are you going down for any of that?
I am not. I am so this Club World Cup, like our schedule is so wild because we'll be doing the shows at the Signia at the hotel before each one of the matches, except for the Man City one. Not doing the Man City one because
freaking o'clock at night.
Yeah, it's bad. But I will actually be in Portugal.
Oh,
yeah. So I have a work trip. Going to try to go visit Benfica Stadium, maybe Sporting Stadium while I'm there.
There you go. And you get
see while them. They're here.
I was going to say what you could do is you could find out what's going on with Victor Gyökeres.
Yeah.
And find out what he's going on. If you go to Sporting and sit there and wave your hands and go, what's the latest on Victor Gyökeres? Is he staying or going?
I'll do some investigative reporting while I'm there.
Yeah, and then you dial into the show where it's like 2:00 in the afternoon.
Yeah.
Dial in under normal circumstances.
Yeah. It'll be super dark, like midnight. I'll be standing in the alley and be like, hey, guess what I just found out?
All right. So hit the promo for me. What's going on, and what do folks need to be watching and paying attention to?
So two things tonight at 7, our normal show, except we're eating hot sauce.
So do you have a victim tonight?
It's all of us.
Oh, okay. So I didn't know if you had someone from the outside who was hot saucing as well.
No, because we thought about doing it like the traditional way where you have a moderator, but then we're like, everybody wants to try the hot sauce, give their opinions. Like I'm taking it so seriously that my wife, because I have to distribute some of this hot sauce out to Henry and Sydney.
Uh-huh.
And she's like, I'm going to pour it into the other containers. I don't even want you to smell it. I want, whenever you try it on the show, for it to be authentic. You haven't, tasted it yet or smelled it at all. So, no, but it'll be all 4 of us. We're answering questions. We're going to be covering, New York City and getting everything prepped for that and going over the international break. But maybe some hot takes and some hot questions and all that good stuff while eating 6 different types of Atlanta hot sauce.
Oh man.
So that's tonight. And then tomorrow we're going to be over at Sababa's Burgers at 2929 North Druid Hills.
Oh.
So if anybody's free, you want to come out, we're actually going to be doing like a watch party. We're going to be doing a quick show beforehand and then hanging out they have a big like 100-inch like quad TV setup. So we'll be there kind of just hanging out. They have like burger combos. It's a local Atlanta couple of brothers that own it. And they've graciously opened their doors for us to go do a watch party. So.
There you go. Okay. Very, very cool. So it's Sababa's for the watch party. And then everybody gets to watch you tonight on SNS and sit there and completely and totally just go chase after water and milk.
Yes. Milk and horseradish. That's the other secret.
It's horseradish.
Horseradish. Yeah.
I was not aware of that one.
Yes.
That's very cool.
It's kind of and I know you got to go real quick. It's when there's a fire, you build a bigger fire next to it to put that fire out. The horseradish but it's a quicker burn. So it pulls all that other heat away and then it just disappears.
I was not aware of that.
Yep.
Okay. All right. Well, enjoy the horseradish and putting out other fires and enjoy all of the hot sauces. The blueberry hot sauce, I think, is going to be one of them, right?
I'm excited. Yeah. It's like a blueberry ghost pepper.
Yeah. No, not happening. All right. Be good, my friend. Enjoy the hot sauce. We'll catch up with you soon.
See ya.
There goes Tyler. And so now it's time for the hot tag, where we discuss anything and everything going on in Major League Soccer, including matches that happen in the midweek with our buddy Dylan Butler. And so, Dylan, we were talking Club World Cup and ticket prices before you came in. And are you excited? Are you thrilled? Are you intrigued? Do you give an ish about the Club World Cup at all?
Yeah, no, we we mentioned this last week. Intrigue is a good word for it, I think. It's on home soil. It's an expanded competition. I feel like in the past it was like 6 teams, 2 of which you've never heard of,
yes,
or barely have heard of, playing at 2 in the morning in Japan, and you don't know where to watch it. Like, it didn't appeal to me before, but expand the competition meant to model a little bit like the World Cup in the stadiums that we know. A lot of big teams, some fun matchups. So yeah, excited for sure.
Okay, just checking. I mean, because we were, like I said, we're going over ticket prices and how folks are learning about dynamic pricing and all that kind of stuff, where apparently Manchester City ticket prices are now officially plummeting, or at least turning into something reasonable for their matchup against Al Ain coming up in 11 days time, those kinds of things. So dynamic ticket prices, you got to keep an eye on all those kinds of things. We did spend a lot of time in hour number 1 discussing what happened in Nashville last night.
What happened in Nashville?
The U.S. And a lot of folks would be wondering themselves what happened in Nashville last night, because apparently the U.S. decided to allow 4 goals to Switzerland and come out of a friendly losing 4-0. And now apparently the world is on fire. Everyone is raging and going that the U.S. men's national team is just it's a car crash, and that everything is over as we know it.
And then you flip you split the screen and you show like the trophy presentation for the Canadian Shield.
Yes.
And Jesse Marsh and Le Rouge, winning a title after a penalty kick loss to Ivory Coast. Quite the contrast.
Yes. And so Latte Lot getting a lot of interest for converting his penalty from down here in Atlanta. So yes, so apparently the world is falling down when it comes to the U.S. men's national team and 2 friendlies leading into the Gold Cup. What do you think? Is the world falling down, Dylan Butler?
Uh, I will say there's nothing quite hotter than a U.S. men's national team loss hot take.
Yes, that's true.
But yeah, don't look good, right?
No, it does not.
You know, for whatever reason, right? Like this is, you know, like you look at it in two different ways, right? One, a Gold Cup, an opportunity for Pochettino to look at players who could push their way into the World Cup,
Yeah,
right?
yeah.
Like, let's see what, especially a lot of young MLS players, right? Let's see what these guys can do in a high pressure
Mhm.
tournament setting, because it's the last one that we'll have before the World Cup.
Right.
You know, the other side of it is that also that means that your quote unquote star players will not have that final opportunity.
Right.
Right. So their last one, I guess, was Copa America, right?
Yeah, it sounds right.
So that's not good. Like, what's the I mean, certainly they're playing high pressure matches for the clubs, but what's the last big pressure match for Pulisic, for Weston McKennie, for Tyler Adams, for any of those guys?
League play, chasing after domestic champions.
Yeah, I mean, Zach Steffen knee surgery.
Yeah.
Turner didn't look good.
And he's apparently getting dealt, allegedly, possibly, probably, to a team that owes another team $21 million plus interest, and they're going to fork over $8 to bring Matt Turner over.
Yeah, so not not looking good.
I mean, and this is the thing. It's like one of the things that we focused on is that you've got to have people who are starting, who are going to be in these positions. I went over the Gold Cup roster 1 through 26, and you're sitting there and it's like, okay, I need dudes who are starting in these situations. So it's not just like trying to turn the engine over on a car and realizing that you might need to change the battery and you hope to God it's not the alternator. You know, I mean, that's kind of what you're staring at here. And
yeah, and then you look at the other side of it, right? Again, you know, comparing it with Canada.
Yeah.
Yes, they also have a lot of MLS players, and they have, right?
Mm-hmm.
But Steven Estacio is part of that, right? He just had his 50th cap with Canada. Should he have been healthy, Alphonso Davies would have been part of this team, right? Like, Jonathan David is part of this team. So it's still it's still your core guys who play in Europe.
Yeah.
But you know, joining the MLS players as well. So it's a calculated risk for sure that the US is making if it was Pochettino's choice, right? Like, you know, the whole Pulisic Donovan saga going on through social media.
Yeah, I'll talk about that.
Yeah. Yeah, not good vibes.
No. So speaking of not good vibes, so Jesse Marsh, you mentioned Jesse Marsh. Apparently, he is of the mind in cutting a wrestling promo that apparently folks were out to get his national team players that were playing for Vancouver in the CONCACAF final of the CONCACAF Hemispheric Extravaganza, where they just got absolutely destroyed by Cruz Azul. So the Whitecaps Cruz Azul Leated, and Cruz Azul ended up with a 5-0 win. Jesse Marsh comes out and says that they food poisoned my guys on purpose. And so Jesse cuts his promo. What have you thought about Jesse up north so far?
I think he's hitting. He's done an incredible job. I think if you're a U.S. national team fan and you're putting hashtags on the latest out, you know, I think you're like, why couldn't we have gotten Jesse Marsh?
But do you want all of that chaos, though? Do you want
he thrives in it. I think it's another way to get his guys going as well. Us against the world mentality, that whole kind of thing. He did it with Red Bulls. as well, right? Like I remember one Hudson River Derby match was complaining about how he hoped that NYCFC stars would stop getting preferential treatment, like that the officials wouldn't give David Villa and those guys preferential treatment before the match, which led to Patrick Vieira in his post-match quotes talking about, he's tired of hearing Jesse Marsh cry, and like it was great. Like it's great drama, right? Like you want that in derby type situations.
Yeah.
My question actually is I thought about this because now this is the second year in a row where there's these allegations, right, of food poisoning, right?
Yeah, sure.
Why doesn't it happen with national teams?
Because they take their own chefs, they bring their own food,
100%. No, but so
their own water.
yes, yeah, exactly, right? So why doesn't that happen with Vancouver after what happened with Columbus the year before?
I mean,
right?
And this is the thing that this is the current thing of one of the many things where, look, if you're a domestic side, I would think that if this match meant to you, the last match of the CONCACAF Hemispheric Extravaganza, if this match meant to you as much as you purport it to mean, then you are going to take every eventuality. You are going to take every security element of this. You are going to double stack your travel party. You are going to have your own chefs brought down. You're going to have your own medical personnel brought down. You're going to have your own food imported on your charter plane. You're going to make sure that everything works out the way that, I mean, literally, I want all of my food refrigerated on my plane. I ain't, getting it out to anybody. I'm taking every possible precaution known to mankind and then second mankind's precautions to make sure that I'm not getting stuff like this happen to me. Why aren't domestic teams sitting there and taking these extra steps?
And as I said, especially after that was the narrative after last year's final, right? So last year you have an MLS team playing in a final in Mexico, claims of food poisoning. Fast forward, you have an MLS team playing in Mexico. Let's sequester the team. We're in this hotel. We're in floors 10 and 11 or something. That's it. We're eating here. We're not going anywhere else. We're in this conference room. We're boarding the bus. We're going to training. We're going to the press conference. We're going back to the hotel. Like 100%.
Yes. And and then when you have a national team coach creating hemispheric moments of angst against other national teams. Yes, I know what you're trying to do. You're trying to gin up your guys. You're trying to sit there and go us against the world. But I mean, if you're the United States, and I know that a lot of folks would sit there and say, "Well, why didn't we get Jesse?" If you're the U.S. national team, do you want that kind of a circus? Do you want that sideshow? Aren't you better?
I don't know if I wonder if it's as much of a circus or a sideshow with the U.S. as it would be with Canada, only because Canada's trying to escape this little brother type thing, right?
But do you do that by cutting wrestling promos, though?
Again, it's in his nature. Like he's also the same guy that took on Trump, right? On social media. So, or in a press conference. I think it was a press conference.
Yeah. So it's just,
it goes hand in hand with Jesse Marsh. But I think if you polled the U.S. fans right now, I would after these results and the run of form and the vibes around both programs, I think you would get more who would vote for a Jesse Marsh as U.S. men's national team coach than not.
Well, and then I think that, and we've been looking at two specific position groups. I think that this probably means that Matt Freese is going to be your guy starting in the Gold Cup. because of what we've seen from Matt Turner, who hasn't been getting regular reps. And I think that it's Matt Freese and Chris Brady before Matt Turner heading into the Gold Cup now because of what we've seen and what we haven't seen.
And that's the other thing too, right? Like it's always been, and that's another big problem that the U.S. has had in recent years. The goalkeeper of the day that you have, right? He needs regular reps.
Right.
We did have that with Brad Friel. We did have that with Tim Howard, right? We haven't had that in recent years. So like if like it's not, if Matt Turner's not getting regular reps,
Yeah.
if like, and Zach Steffen wasn't, so he and his agent, whatever, his team, they made a good decision to come back. Maybe now he'll get regular reps. Unfortunately, now he's injured, but I don't think you go for the goalkeeper just because he plays in Europe. Like that guy's got to get regular time. So if he's not, he can't be your regular starter for the U.S. men's national team.
Is that the position that you have the most concern right now when it comes to the national team, between the sticks, or is it up top for you? Or is it a cause and effect almost?
Yeah, I mean,
if you can't,
all of the above, I guess.
If you can't score, then you got to defend. But if you can't defend, you got to score.
Yeah, I mean, both. It's you thought you had it locked down in goal, right? Like Turner looked like he was going to be the guy after it looked like Steffen wasn't going to be the guy. And there's still that rotation up top, right? They're still looking for the answers. Again, we thought probably a year ago that was a position that maybe we had figured out. We don't. It's not figured out. So yeah, I mean, I think both. I think it's exciting times if you're a Brian White, right? You're in a good run of form. You have a chance to, again, the last tournament pre-World Cup to open up eyes. Maybe you score 6 goals in this tournament, and all of a sudden, you could be the guy starting in the first World Cup match.
Dylan Butler, MLSsoccer.com, dropping by for his Wednesday visit when he is not out conquering high school athletics at Varsity Media on the YouTube. So you can go back. Everything's archived, right? All your matchups?
Yep.
Yeah. So if you've missed anything from Dylan when it comes to tri-state high school extravaganzas, you can go back to Varsity Media on YouTube and you can catch up with Dylan, who had like 38 lacrosse matches in a 3-day period that he navigated through the other day.
It was 11. I think my total count for the spring was 30, which is wild when you think it was like 11 in the final week. But
I know championships will do that for you across the board. This weekend, it is a matchup on Thursday for Atlanta United and NYC. You get to be the only game in town, and I'm just still, like I said, after you will have Glenn Crooks on to talk about NYC, but you got that to start things off. Then you got Friday night football, which is something that I have mandated and maintained that Major League Soccer needs to have. You need to own Friday nights. You've got Friday night football with Portland and San Jose. Do any of the matchups here coming up on Saturday or starting Thursday have any kind of Dylan Butler level intrigue other than you having to sit there and be on the desk to follow them on Saturday? Who is intriguing to you coming up this week?
Well, I'm on the desk on Thursday as well, so I will be. I'm manning the ship solo on Thursday, so that, because of that, intrigues me.
Okay, so let's stop there. No one is coming back to be ready for NYC because of travel and such. So it looks like it's going to be Tomas Romero in net for NYC and Bakrar starting in the attack for NYC. And for Atlanta, it's going to be a couple of races against time, but I think we've pieced together what it's going to look like. Latte Lot flies over from Toronto. He's going to probably be up top. Can you give me 60? Something like that. So intrigue for NYC and Atlanta United for you.
Yeah, I mean, I think just a lot of what you said. It's not dissimilar to what we just said with the U.S. national team, right? Like an opportunity for other guys to step up and and to prove that they maybe earn some extra minutes. I think Portland, San Jose, because it is San Jose, it's always
Take me over. Yes.
intrigue.
Yeah.
And then you look at the weekend slate. Probably like Minnesota, San Diego. That's an interesting one, right? Even though obviously they're not full squads, but or at least not Minnesota's full squad. I think Columbus, Vancouver, again, if you have your full allotment of players, right, is an intriguing one. But yeah, it's tough. It's tough when it's a lot of eyes obviously on Club World Cup, on the Gold Cup as well. So
I mean, you look at Vancouver, Adekubi, Ali Ahmed, Berhalter, Bovalina, Kubas, Tate Johnson with the U20s, Jaden Nelson, Pedro Vite, Brian White. Yeah. Yes,
but they still got a result too, right? Like they had about 17 guys questionable with illness, and
yeah.
they went to their homegrowns and their academy kids, and they get a goal there, and it was a good result for them on this past weekend.
Yeah, that to me, that's. But once again, we always talk about second teams in MLS Next Pro and stuff like that, and the benefits pop up in situations like that.
Our inboxes will be busy with short-term signing emails.
But and this is a thing that gets me is that I think that I legitimately think that you should take the short-term signings and turn it into like the NBA, because I think that putting a limit on your short-term signings, I think it's detrimental to the process. And then you're sitting there and you're having to navigate them. It's like you can call them up, but you can't play them, or you can't play them every time you call them up. You can only play them like 2 or 3 times if you call them up for 6. I mean, it seems like that to me is something that you've got to adjust. Like if you call them up, give them the 14-day contract and have them be there for 2 matches or 3 matches or whatever, and not have it counteract everything that we traditionally would see in a situation like that. Instead of, short-term call-up. He's got one more short-term call-up. He's got one more. And you have to navigate that, and you've got to sit there and figure out, okay, do I burn a short-term call-up on a guy? And you've got to think about it too hard when it really should just be just like the NBA. Call him up. I need him for 2 weeks. I got a 10-day deal or a 14-day contract. It should be that simple, but it's not.
No, I agree. I agree, especially if you're not going to expand the roster or the salary cap, or you need to figure out a different mechanism to have additional players play. So yes, I'm in 100% agreement with you on that.
Vancouver is at a plus 290 on the road, at Columbus at a minus 123. NYC is a minus 110 in the Bronx, taking on Atlanta United, who's a plus 282. You mentioned Portland and San Jose. Portland is a minus 130. San Jose is north of plus 300. And as we look at,
I think we both need to somehow find a way to work for Phil Neville.
Well, yeah, I mean,
because then you he would be like, well, I mean, look, John Nelson's the best radio guy in the league. We don't have a question about it.
Yeah, I love you for that. That's fantastic. So from your lips outbound, but as long as I get to still do everything here, and then we'll be fine.
Like David Ayala is the best midfielder. Anthony should be the MVP. There's no question. Like, it's great. Like, I'm sure he rips his guys and inside the locker room, but outside, right? Nothing but praise.
Everything. So 4.5, by the way, is a plus 245. So it turns at 3.5. Portland and San Jose's over under turns at 3.5, by the way, from a minus to a plus. And goes to plus 104 at 3.5. Plus 4.5 is a plus 245. And if you're really ambitious, plus 5.5 is a plus 511. So that's what you're staring at with Portland and San Jose. I like the 4.5 at a plus 245. I think that you can see chaos and have it rage supreme with your chaos there with that one.
Okay, it's Portland and San Jose.
Mm-hmm.
It's after dark.
Yeah,
there's a high degree of likelihood of chaos.
Yeah, and it's its own match, and so it's its own spotlight. So you've got that going. LAG, they finally won, but they're a plus 250 dog taking on All Caps in St. Louis. Revs in Cincinnati, Philadelphia, Charlotte, Austin hosting Red Bulls. This is going to be a challenge for a lot of folks, especially with their fantasy rosters. Me being me and everything. It's like you're navigating your fantasy roster to make sure that you captain the right guy and that so-and-so isn't on any kind of international duty. But I'm trying to see. It looks like for the most part, well, I was going to say for the most part, it looks like the home folks are the favorites, but it almost looks like it's a 50-50 proposition, especially on
New England, Cincinnati could be interesting as well.
Yeah, I mean, New England, Cincinnati, both of them are on the plus side. Austin's on the plus side as a favorite. Chicago on the plus side going up against Nashville. The Greg Berhalter, BJ Callahan subtext of that one. I mean, I like that. I like that one. That one's going to be a fun one at 8:40 Eastern. Minnesota United on the plus side favored because of their absences. Just so folks know, for Minnesota, set your fantasy teams appropriately. It is Boxall, Harvey, Lud, Oluwaseyi, Rosales, and Dane St. Clair. So Jesse Marsh is hanging on to Dane St. Clair and Tani Oluwaseyi. And we'll see if they race back or if they're going to be stuck getting ready for Gold Cup. But so I am intrigued when it comes to how things are going to look this weekend. When you look, so this is what we're going to put in the time capsule. My last question for you. The teams that are north of the playoff bar right now in the East and the West, do they stay the way they are? And if they don't, who goes up and who goes down in the playoffs?
All right, 1 second. Let me pull up my standings.
Yeah, so pull up your standings. And so do the 9 stay the 9 in the East and the West?
Just in terms of above the line, you mean?
Yeah, just above the line. So are the 9 above the line going to be the 9? Does someone come from below the line, and then who dumps out in the East and the West? This is the time capsule question that we open up in October and November.
I would say the 9s stay up in the East.
Okay.
I was hedging on Chicago because they've been too inconsistent for me. But I think they're trending in the right direction.
Mm-hmm.
So I'll keep them above the line. I think Charlotte will figure out a way to stay there. And the teams above that as well. I mean, New England, NYCFC, if they do something in the summer, I think they could both make a push. I think it's a lot of points to make up for like an Atlanta, right?
Understood.
So, but then again, it's a forgiving league. So, if they finally put all those puzzle pieces together and play the way they should with, that multi-million-dollar lineup that is there, I think, they can make a run of it as well. But yeah, like the teams that are above, it's hard to say, who might go below that. Like Red Bulls haven't been great; they've been good, but like they don't until last year. I guess the thing is they don't do much in the playoffs, but they make the playoffs. So
yeah.
So I'll say as of right now, I'll say yes. All those teams will stay above.
Okay, just thought I would ask. So we will keep that in the time capsule. And we will bring it out, and we'll see how incredibly correct we all are when it comes to.
Yeah, looking at the West.
Yes.
It's a similar kind of thing, right? You look at the last spot, like there's 2 points separating Colorado and Houston,
and 4 with Dallas. If you want to go that far,
I'm not going to go that far.
Okay.
I think. Yeah, I don't think. I will say that again, it's not fun, I guess, because it's going chalk. But I think I would say that those 9 stay. My only caveat maybe being that 9-10 spot with Houston, Colorado.
Okay.
But
And
yeah,
the future of Zach Steffen and net in Colorado for the next 4 to
no,
6.
100% too. Yeah, I was gonna say, Salt Lake with Luna, but I think Luna, if he keeps playing the way that he's playing, I don't think he'll be here
Yeah.
past the summer. So,
Yeah, understood.
and that's the only guy. That's all they have.
Yeah.
Salt Lake. So
Yes, 16 goals, 17 matches, and they've given up 25. So they're at -9, and they got some work to do, winning 2 on the road and at home so far. So you're on the desk. When are you on the desk this weekend? You're on the desk tomorrow.
Thursday, Saturday.
Okay, so you get to enjoy MLS After Dark on Friday, right?
Yeah.
Unless, of course, you're actually going to spend time with family or something.
Yeah. Well, usually I'm up early on a Saturday, so I'm not sure if I'm making the full 2 hours of MLS After Dark on Friday night.
Okay. All right. Well, as always, my friend, it's great to see you. Great to get to all of your insights when it comes to everything going on in and around the league. We will catch up with you on the flip side, and you get to let us know what you think about Atlanta United and NYC next week.
Yeah, buddy.
All right. Thanks as always. There goes Dylan. And so Dylan Butler is going to go sample his coffee, and he's going to let us know what all that was about. But it's always great to catch up with Dylan, find out what's going on in Major League Soccer. Now, it is that time for opposition research. And it is where we catch up with folks in and around the league and find out what is going on with everything in Major League Soccer. Atlanta United taking on NYC, and we caught up with Glenn Crooks to find out what the latest is involving Glenn, NYC, and who isn't going to be around, a familiar theme, as Atlanta United and NYC start the weekend off on a Thursday in the Bronx. Thursday in the Bronx, people. That's what you're staring at when it comes to Thursday in the Bronx. So let's see. So of course, what did I do? I downloaded it and I didn't load it back into the system. So I'm a genius. So it's like, all right. So what am I doing? So I'm adding a scene. I'm adding media. And so it would have been yesterday. So nothing like having to go back. No, it's not in that. It's not in there. But am I going to have to do it this way? I might have to do it this way. So, all right. So here's what I'm going to do. I'm going to filibuster for a minute and get the video from yesterday and lay it all out for us. And so it is obviously it's about a 20-minute conversation that we had with Glenn to find out what's going on in and around Major League Soccer. So let's do this. Before Glenn gets in, we'll do this. We'll go through gossip, rumor, and innuendo, and then we'll go through what to watch, where to watch it, how to watch it, and the busy day as everybody's racing back to this particular part of the planet and to let you know where things stand. All right, so gossip. All the reports and the things. Florian Wirtz set for a Liverpool medical after they agreed in principle with Leverkusen on £127 million, including add-ons. That's from Fabrizio Romano. Arsenal have agreed a fee of about £59 million with Real Sociedad for Spain's Martin Zubamendi, with the move to be completed after July 1st to help with meeting with financial fair play. Manchester United evaluating an offer for Victor Osimhen using Joshua Zirkzee as a make-weight, Gazzetta dello Sport. RB Leipzig's Benjamin Sesko, a reported target for Arsenal, rejected a move to Al Hilal before Tuesday's deadline. Leipzig are holding firm on receiving the full release clause for Sesko, now understood to be at £65 million. Milos Kerkesh on the verge of the £45 million move to Liverpool after Bournemouth agreed to bring in Adrien Truffert from Rennes. Newcastle opened negotiations with Burnley about signing James Trafford from Burnley. Donnarumma wants to stay at PSG despite Manchester United and Inter Milan inquiring about the Italy keeper. Brighton is going to accept a bid of £50 to £60 million for Joao Pedro, who's a target of Newcastle. Chelsea opened to offers for Benoit Badiashile and Axel Disasi. Inter Milan keen on signing Julio Enciso from Brighton. Al Hilal's bid to sign N'Golo Kante on a short-term deal from Al Ittihad could collapse because of a fan backlash. So that is the intro and the intel when it comes to everything going on. We'll come back on the flip side and we'll go over any of the other news that might have happened that we are missing out on this morning. Now, what to watch, where to watch it, how to watch it. After the busy evening, it's going to be a night for MLS Next Pro. Big promotion there on a couple of fronts. ESPN2's got USL Championship tonight, Lou City and Rhode Island at 8. FS2, the Canadian Premier League, Ottawa and Valor at 7. ESPN Deportes. Spanish Segunda is at 3, Real Oviedo and Almeria. And that is also on the plus. League One is on the plus with Spokane and Charlotte at 10 o'clock. MLS Next Pro, all on MLSNextPro.com. Atlanta United 2, Huntsville City Football Club. That one is at 5 o'clock, contrary to published reports. 5 o'clock kick, so 5:03. Maddie and I will have the pregame for you at 4:30 on the network, soccerdownhere.mixler.com, and at soccerdownhere.net. It is up at the Turner Complex at the University of Georgia, and so we will be up there for that one with you. We caught up with Steve Cook, and we caught up with Big Sal Masafero. You'll hear from them in the pregame show. Carolina Core and Orlando City B. That one is at 7:30. Real Monarchs, Tacoma Defiance at 9:30. Timbers 2 in Ventura County is at 10:30. On the plus, the Canadian Northern Super League has Vancouver and Toronto. That one is at 10 o'clock tonight. So if you have not yet, go and listen to the interview that Maddie and Jason had with Ronnie Dyla. And you get to, it's a really good conversation that the two of them had with him. And so it's an opportunity for all of them to let you know what's going on. And I know that my face is like really low in the corner because I'm trying to load things. And so let me do this. So there we go. No. All right. So anyway, let me go back to enlarging and maximizing me while things are being loaded. So I didn't realize that I was just like really low in the corner for all of that. But that's what happens when you're loading things. All right. So all of that is there. So yes. So you've got that coming up later today. So once again, pregame show at 4:30. 5:03 is kick. You can catch the video portion on MLSNextPro.com. You can catch me and Maddie once again on the audio portion on our Mixler channel and at soccerdownhere.net. And so if you've missed it or if you haven't had the chance to dial it up, check out the interview that Maddie and Jason had with Ronnie Dyla. So it's a really good half hour. I would recommend it wholeheartedly when it comes to learning more about Ronnie Dyla and finding out what's going on with him. And his time and his tenure with Atlanta United and being head coach in a very, very difficult year. You're at the halfway point, and then the second half of the season, everybody's flying up today for the matchup tomorrow. So very, very cool that you're going to be able to have that kind of a conversation with Ronnie Dyla. And it's very, very rare that you get to sit down for that long with Maddie and Jason and Ronnie Dyla. So very, very cool stuff there that is attached to what's going to be going on with Atlanta United. And it's going to be a challenge. And like I said, when we had Tyler on, it was one of those opportunities to look at how it's going to sit there and go, well, you know, here's the deal. Here's how it's going to look. And so we kind of workshopped it a little bit. But now it's time to find out what's going on with NYC now that the video finally loaded. And it's our conversation that we like to have with Glenn Crooks. Opposition Research, Glenn Crooks, play-by-play voice for NYC, and at SiriusXM with the Coaching Academy. So here is our conversation with Glenn Crooks. So officially in a no dilly, no dally zone with you as we get ready for the NYC preview section of things. So first and foremost, do we know why this is a Thursday night thing? Were there gods in place that sat there and said, you're going to be the first match of the weekend, still in an international break? Do we know why it's a Thursday?
Well, they never played NFL games on a Thursday night until whenever they did. And there you go. And don't you need written permission from me to be in the dilly-dally zone? What the heck is that?
I know. We are in a no dilly, no dally. I mean,
okay.
Yes,
sorry.
We are.
All right. No dilly-dally. Okay.
No dilly, no dally.
All right.
Unless I need a note from a teacher or something like that. You know, does Maddie can write you the note about being in a dilly-dally.
All right.
So that was one of the first things that popped into my head. I'm like, why? I feel like Ross on Friends. Why are we on a Thursday? That just, it struck me as odd coming out of an international break where everyone's having to race back and try to figure out what's going on.
Well, you had teams that played last weekend. This has been, I think I'm accurate in saying, since I've started doing this in 2015, that an MLS team or teams, obviously, will be playing every international break. There's always a few games going on during the international break. Why they pick Thursday? Maybe because these two teams have had a significant break now, and it gives them more of a break afterwards. I don't really know. Maybe because it's a standalone. Look, the game, my broadcast is going to be on Sirius XMFC. Otherwise, it would be Inter Miami because it's always Inter Miami if they're on at the same time. So that's the way it works. So maybe you get more eyes and ears on the Thursday night. I don't know.
Okay, I guess I didn't know if there was a Bronxian reason one way or the other.
I didn't do much research on it. I just saw the schedule and said, all right, we've got Friday. We have 2 Friday night games coming up at some point. We have another Thursday game coming and a couple more Sundays maybe. So it's still mostly Saturday, but I think it's going to be 2 Fridays and 2 Thursdays for New York City. So there you go.
So you're at the halfway point of the season. 17 matches in, 7-6-4. What is what's your report card on the first half of the season for NYC?
It's a bang average C.
Okay.
Because that's average, right? C is just like average.
Yeah.
And when this is a team that it was interesting because I went to training today and I met a very good friend, like a 40-plus year friend of Pascal Janssen, the head coach. They grew up together in Amsterdam. And he asked me, he goes, well, what's your assessment of the season? What do you think? I'm like, oh, boy, I better be careful here. But I told him, I said that, well, it's what Pascal has said since the beginning is a lack of consistency. And what's more inconsistent than just winning 50%, having that, one game above 500, or you're right on that threshold of being bang average, 9th place in the conference. So I don't think anyone would argue with that. And where it goes from here, I think it's of high interest, certainly in the city supporters area.
So with all of the international call-ups, what is the race back to make sure that folks are going to be back in by Thursday? Do you know what itineraries are going to be? Who's in? Who's still going to be chasing? Do you know what that's going to look like?
Well, 7 players departed to represent their countries on different levels. There's some youth national team players like Johnny Shore, who's been starting in the midfield. He will not be available. None of the 7 will be available for Thursday night. So there will be 7 absences of different ilks. Maximo Carrizo's just played a couple of games in a reserve role. Drew Baera still has not made his debut, along with Johnny Shore. Those are all homegrown players. The players that are going to be missed most extensively are Matt Freese in goal and Alonso Martinez up top. Monsef Bakrar will get his opportunity to try to sort things out as the number 9. And it will be Tomas Romero in goal. He's been the backup. He's played one game this year, and that was May 7th. In the U.S. Open Cup against the Pittsburgh Riverhounds, which was a 1-0 defeat. The previous competitive match he's played in was with El Salvador last November. Now, I talked to him today, and he pointed to he played a lot in the preseason and scrimmages and things like that. But the bottom line is the guy has not had a lot of games. He's 24 years old. He says he's more mature now to handle this situation than ever before. But here's a guy that played a number of games consecutively for LAFC in 2021. Looked like he was going somewhere. Went to Toronto, didn't work out there. And now he's behind Freeze at New York City. So it's the life of a goalkeeper, isn't it?
Yeah, no doubt. And I know that it will be interesting to see just how far back into the huddle library folks will go to sit there and try and find how it looked against LAFC. I know, high school football reference, looking at huddle video. Yeah. When you have the offense that it has been, there are only 3 players so far this season have more than 1 goal, although you have a lot of others who have contributed. What has that said to you about the offense this year and the concerns that you may have heading into the second half of the season?
Well, you can't vie for a top 4 spot or an MLS championship without at least 2 reliable goal scorers. Generally speaking, you need 3. If you go back and look at all the MLS Cup champions, that's what they've had. So it's been Alonso Martinez. Hannes Wolf has a couple of braces, including the one against Atlanta back in March. But he recently has increased his total from 3 to 6 over the last 3 games. So he's maybe someone who can be a supplemental goal scorer to Alonso Martinez, who, by the way, is second in the league in expected goals. He could easily have 14. He's got 8 coming into this game. Easily could have 14. Those are the number of near misses or goals that he should have converted. And, he's normally a precise finisher, and right now he's a little off. So, but you're not going to see him tomorrow. As for being off, Monsef Bakar, 1 goal on the year, in over 400 minutes. And he had gone, I don't have it in front of me, but it was a high number of games and minutes without a goal since last year. So he's got to come through in this game. And depending on how deep Costa Rica goes, he might have to even play on June the 28th when New York City's in Montreal. So we'll see.
Crazy. You mentioned the XG for Martinez, 12.92. That is insane.
Yeah. I think there's only one. I think Kuipers is the only one ahead of him in the league in expected goals, the Chicago Fire Strikers. So yeah, but he puts he's good. He's good. I'm happy to have him. If I'm a coach, I'm happy to have him on my side, because not only is he second in expected goals, he's hovered from either third or fourth or fifth place with the greatest pace, the greatest straight ahead speed in MLS among all players. Actually, Bakar is right next to him, as is Thiago Martins, the central defender. And you'll see examples of that. Martinez gets a lot of his chances getting in behind the defense, and he's become more proficient at timing those runs better out of the midfield. But some very, very unfortunate news today for New York City FC, and this might be the first you've heard this as Atlanta United supporters, is that Keaton Park, who oftentimes will be the guy delivering out of the midfield, along with Maxi Morales, is out indefinitely. He's had a foot injury since preseason. I walked off with him at Coachella. It was the last preseason game. He took himself out of the game, and he said, "Yeah, I've got this foot injury. I don't know what it is, but it's been bothering me off and on." They've tried injections, that's cortisone, to see if that could help. He can play for a certain amount of time, then he can't train regularly, so he's got no game fitness. Well, he wasn't training today, so it was one of my first questions to Pascal. What's with Keaton Parks? And they feel like they've diagnosed the problem, but because of whatever they've diagnosed, it's going to keep him out for the coming weeks, is the exact quote from Pascal Janssen. And that's unfortunate, because he's outside of Matt Freese and Alonso Martinez, he's been the MVP of the team. Maybe Justin Hack in there as well.
So all things having all of this empirical evidence that we've assembled here in the first handful of minutes that you and I have caught up this go around, how do you anticipate the starting 11 looking and the options for Janssen coming off the bench?
Well, the bench options are going to be limited. Bakar is going to be up top. Hannes Wolf will play, and I would imagine Julian Fernandez. So that leaves you with Agustin Ojeda coming off the bench. In the midfield, Maxi Morales will start at the attacking mid, I would assume. And then it'll be Andres Pereira and Justin Hack, I would believe. So Hack, who's been playing a lot of time in the back, I suspect, and Kevin O'Toole is back from injury. So it may be O'Toole, Risa, Martins, and Tavon Gray, because Micha Ilinic is away, the right back from Slovenia. He's with the U21s there, competing in the Euros. And so that's a bit of how I would probably see it, but depth, not much.
I was going to say, I mean, with the absences there and those depth pieces pushed to the fore, then the depth pieces. I mean, how many emergency call-ups are we thinking from NYC2 that you might be seeing here?
Yeah, well, I think we'll see Seymour Reed, who has been signed as a homegrown, but he's in the special homegrown category where he's only allowed 6 call-ups. So he's got a few left. So they'll bring him in, I would imagine. And then they've got to look in the midfield. I'm not sure how they will do that. And at the back, Nico Cavallo. Nico Cavallo could very well start at left back, and then Kevin O'Toole off the bench, because O'Toole hasn't played in a long time because of a left knee injury, and he still had it all wrapped up in training today. But he will be in the squad, according to Pascal Janssen. I think we'll probably see Max Murray. He's their first-round draft pick. He played on that national championship team at Vermont. And behind Tanasiewicz, who Strahinja, he came off the bench in the 2-2 draw against Nashville and down 2-0, and he was a major difference in that game, along with Keaton Parks, 2 substitutions at the interval. Tanasiewicz and Parks. Parks is no longer available. So it makes for a pretty interesting battle, I would imagine. And I haven't studied Atlanta to the extent where I know who you're missing. So what's going on your end?
11 gazillion folks have been called up, and I think it's going to be a race to figure out who. I'm serious. I mean, literally, here's the list. Here's the list. Abram to Peru, Almiron to Paraguay, Luke Brennan with the U20s, Dominic Chonqui with the U18s, Noah Cobb with the U20s, Jay Fortune with Trinidad and Tobago, Latte Lot with the Ivory Coast. But Latte Lot and the Ivory Coast are playing 2 friendlies in Toronto. So if he can navigate the traffic coming out of Pearson and end up at JFK, then I think he'll be fine. Saba with Georgia, Efren Morales with Bolivia, Bart Sleesh, who scored with Poland. And then you have another couple of players who wait a second. Who was it that scored the other day for the
That's okay. There should have been, I think maybe there should have been a pre-arrangement that the New York City 2 team meets Atlanta 2 in this game. Just keep it at that and then go at it that way.
I mean, hey, look, I'd love to see that matchup go back at it again, because, we broadcast the 2s games on SDH, and it's always fun when those 2 teams go at it hammer and tong. The 2s matchups, they should have that one off to just the side. They're playing Huntsville City today later, but literally when NYC and Atlanta United 2 go at it, it's always fun. But yeah, I mean, literally it's 14 players, I think, in various either U's or seniors for Atlanta United that are either racing back, playing on Tuesday, flying back on Wednesday. Oh, by the way, you're racing up to New York for Thursday. I will be just as intrigued.
It's not a good situation.
No.
And the New York City players that are playing on the Tuesday, some of them would have extensive travel. Aiden O'Neill is in Saudi Arabia. Now, he'll have completed a game, but there's no way he's flying back and playing. It's not happening. I mean, maybe he'll be on the bench, and maybe they'll figure he can play. It depends on how much he plays in the second match. Australia, by the way, has pretty much clinched a World Cup bid, so it was very good news for him, as they beat Japan for the first time since 2009, 1-0 in their World Cup qualifier. But we'll just that will remain to be seen, and maybe that takes care of a little bit of the midfield situation. But I can't imagine that kind of flight that they'll because he won't fly until Wednesday, and then I would doubt it. I would doubt it.
Philosophically, for someone who has not seen Pascal Janssen and his style of play for NYC, how would you break it down for someone who is just walking in the door?
He's Dutch. Get out your Dutch playbooks, man. I mean, he's very Dutch in his attention to detail, but also he prefers 4 at the back. He prefers a 4-3-3. You'll see a 4-2-3-1. But if he had his druthers, he would want to play 4-3-3 with a midfield 3 that has multiple characteristics, so that they could rotate. If one got forward, the other held, so they'd have a really good relationship there. So he's not quite there yet, and he's the kind of coach who will adjust to the personnel. And the one thing I will say, the trait of his teams, and if this doesn't happen, he becomes pretty perturbed, is to be able to control the game enough where you can get good enough numbers forward to create some havoc in the penalty area. So if all is going well, you'll see Justin Hack getting into the final third, even though he might start at central defender. And that's kind of the way it's been going. And the one thing I would say, and I would imagine the same thing is happening with Ronnie Dyla and however he approaches things with his team, that now at the halfway point, I feel like 4 or 5 games ago, the team started to get it, even though they had a stinker against Houston. It's still not there. Still not there.
Yeah, and when you look at NYC there at Yankee Stadium, you don't necessarily need someone who's going to be a wingback who can bomb in crosses. It literally is just the pinpoint passing and getting into space and getting out of space, out to the edges and working it that way. It's not the transitional stuff and from the edges looking to go inside the 6 and the 18 that we're used to seeing in other places.
Yeah. Well, it's some contrasting styles maybe going at it here too. And look, and it's the return of Ronnie Dyla. He's beloved in New York City.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, people were not happy when he departed for Standard Liège. He left in the middle of the season in 2022. Nick Cushing took over on an interim basis, got the team to the Eastern Conference Final for the second straight year, losing to Philadelphia. But then 23 under Nick, no playoff. 24 under Nick, didn't happen. I mean, it happened, but it didn't. A loss to the Red Bulls in the playoffs, and that kind of sealed his fate. And that's we brought in our 6th coach now, Pascal Janssen. So it's and he hasn't. He's coached over 200 games as a professional head coach, but his average time of being in a place is 1.9 years. I suspect he'll last longer at New York City FC. He was pretty much handpicked. They've been watching him. They've known about him for 5 years, Pascal Janssen. And what they do, they have all these people in their stable that if the time is right, they'll contact them. And that's what they did in this occasion.
It's very Bielsa-ish to be 1.9 years on average at an average location. So I'll bite. You said that Ronnie Dyla is beloved. How beloved is Ronnie Dyla up there? Not just, the on-the-field results and things, but how beloved an individual is Ronnie up there?
Well, I think I may have told this story last time I was on with you, but one of the reasons, the Ronnie roar, which you've gotten a little bit of, but the Ronnie roar, so he really involves himself with the supporters in that manner. But he's also a man about town. The former Celtic coach, so he loves the old firm. He's still very much a Celtic supporter, and he went to the Jack Murphy's, which is a Celtic supporters club. It's also a New York City supporters club in the city once for an old firm match on a Sunday morning at 7:30, and he's drinking pints with the supporters, man. So that's a big reason why he's also beloved, but mostly because New York City won an MLS Cup under his guidance.
Yes, that will definitely help. If you would please, sir, cut the promo for everything NYC and everything Glenn Crookesian that folks need to pay attention to.
Oh my goodness,
on a daily basis.
Yeah, well, I'm very proud of my SiriusXM FC show. It's called The Coaching Academy, and I just recently, because in updating my resume, but somebody asked me to calculate how many interviews I've done for Sirius, and it's over 1,300. You include New York City FC and my other 2 podcasts that I have. I've conducted over 2,200 interviews since 2015. So I really enjoy that because I feel like I'm a curious person, and I get most of those interviews are with coaches, which is my bailiwick. And so that show is on every Tuesday at 8 p.m. Eastern.
Yes.
And my other work is with the New York City Football Club, and Thursday night, baby.
Mm-hmm. No doubt about it. All right. So table for 4 at your favorite restaurant in New York City. Who are the folks that you want to who are your coaches that have not been on Coach's Academy that you'd like to have at that table for 4 just to break bread? Who would be on that table for 4 with you?
Pep.
Okay.
Postecoglou.
Okay.
And wow, I'm not prepared for this question. So I would dig deep. I'm just blurting names out here. I'm very intrigued with. I'll just go right for Ten Hag. not, I look, Ten Hag and Postecoglou right now are probably not good examples, but for me and coaching education, which is the basis of my show and what kind of brings me joy. I mean, to be able to sit with all those three, all with a little bit different outlook on how the game is played.
Yeah.
Carlo Ancelotti would be on that list.
Yeah.
Jose Mourinho would be on that list.
Yeah.
I did a lot of things at Rutgers University following the path of Jose Mourinho in particular, and some of the things he did with a 4-3-3 while he was at Chelsea. So the list, to name three, we're going to have to get a bigger table.
Okay, no, hey, dude, nothing wrong with a big table at the back. You go behind the curtain, you sit there, and it's just a big table. No, I was thinking that you might have Pep, Bielsa, Ancelotti, maybe Gattuso. Just that massive table at the back. That's why I just wanted to see if you could squeeze it into a table for.
Well, Bielsa would be great, but I don't speak Spanish or
they could give you
Portuguese or whatever.
They give you a PowerPoint at the back.
Well, he's got one of those up on YouTube with the translation. He's an interesting character. There are so many, and I've been fortunate to talk to Rene Mollenstein, who sat next to Sir Alex for years and ran the training sessions at Manchester United for Sir Alex in a period of time where they won 3 league titles in 4 years. Rene he worked with Ronaldo, and he's been on a couple of times. Real interesting guy, Dutch guy. I like the Dutch guys, and so he's been one of the guys in an ilk where he's coached at the highest level like that, sitting in a Premier League dugout. And but I also have a friend I've been on the show multiple times, Edu Rubio, who was a first team assistant for Julian Lopetegui, both at Wolves in the Premier League and then at West Ham. Unfortunately, they got sacked at West Ham this year. My kind of an unfortunate story too, because 4 days before I was flying out to see him, see training, and see 2 games, they got fired.
Oh.
They had a rough year, but I still hung out and went to the games and stuff. But I didn't get to training anymore.
Oh, well, as always, my friend, you know that you have golden ticket status. And when it comes to Hours of Chaos on Fridays, if you ever want to parachute in and sit there and give your 2 cents and duck out the door, you know that you can always do that. It's always great to catch up with you. Mike and Jason are heading your way, and they will be there inside Yankee Stadium with you, my friend. It's always great to catch up and see what's going on with NYC with the matchup on Thursday night.
So thanks, John. And look forward to seeing those 2 boys. Thanks very much.
It says your mic is muted when you're backstage. I was not muted. I was starting to talk. I'm still trying to figure this stuff out. Anyway, that's Glenn Crooks. That's your rundown of everything NYC. And it's always great to catch up with Glenn and find out what your intel is as we get ready for NYC and Atlanta United. That one is tomorrow night, 6:30 pregame, and it is a Five Stripes countdown on 92.9 The Game on the Odyssey app. Abe and Maddie will be there for that. And then the game with Mike and Jason from the Bronx. Then after that, it is a full hour of the full-time report. That'll be on after 92.9 The Game and the Odyssey app. Today, once again, 4:30 pregame, 5 o'clock from the Turner Soccer Complex in Athens. It is Atlanta United 2 and Huntsville City Football Club. And it'll be, we talked about gap times involving the first team. We got gap time with the second team, too. So get this. All right, so Atlanta United, the twos, we talked about Atlanta United. So they play today. They don't play again until the 25th, and then they play 25th and 28th at Columbus and in Fort Lauderdale. For the twos, after today, it is the matchup for Atlanta United 2, and then they get yet another break. And I'm not kidding. They get another break until, if I'm not mistaken, where are we? Yeah, 18 days. 18 days for Atlanta United 2 after today. They go down to the Erector set on the 29th, and that's the next matchup. But today, 4:30 pregame, 5:03 kick. Maddie and I will be up at the Turner Soccer Complex in Athens on the campus of the University of Georgia. We'll have the broadcast for you on the network, soccerdownhere.mixlr.com, and also at soccerdownhere.net. and it's going to be archived there, and you can listen to it after the fact. But then, yeah, they don't play again until the 29th when they go down to Fort Lauderdale to take on Messi and friends, too. So there's that. One more tour of all of the news and all the things and all the places before we get out of here. Georgi Petrovic left off of Chelsea's Club World Cup squad, expected to leave this summer. An exit is not straightforward, according to Tommy Scoops, and we'll keep an eye on that. Tiani Reinders is joined from Milan for an initial €55 million 5-year deal, so it budgets out to 11 per. Nice's Marcin Bolka, one of the names on Manchester United's list of potential keepers, still determining whether or not to go for a number one. Onana has not been informed, according to Ben Jacobs, that he has surplus to requirements, but it's an open situation. Emi Martinez is also on United's radar, along with Atletico Madrid. Leroy Sané set to join Galatasaray, agreed to a 3-year deal worth up to €11 million net per season. Champions League football, a key factor. Kevin De Bruyne set to finalize his move to Napoli tomorrow. 2-year contract agreed. The Fire are aware. Also, Reynildo has received approaches from Forest, Sunderland, and Leeds. Also has options in Turkey and Saudi Arabia, free agent after the Club World Cup. Raheem Sterling is going to obviously return to Chelsea when his loan deal is done. Darwin Nunez expected to leave Liverpool, but no cut price sales. Liverpool have a €70 million valuation informed by a rejected Al Nassr bid in January, and data, particularly looking at Nunez's numbers as a starter. Atletico Madrid is keen, and Saudi always is maintaining their interest as well. We'll go over what happened yesterday in international duty. Senegal beat England 3-1. People are mad at Thomas Tuchel. If you thought things were going on where folks were mad here in the States about what happened in a 4-0 win over the USMNT by Switzerland, Senegal won 3-1 over England, and people, once again, they're running around like Macaulay Culkin, going up and down the stairs in Home Alone. Newcastle's once again in talks to sign Burnley's Trafford. We talked about that. Let's see. Also, there is a new women's shirt row as fans are denied names on the backs of the Welsh kit for the Wales women's team. So you got to keep an eye on that. Over at The Guardian, we mentioned Club World Cup. FIFA is ready to discuss staging a 48-team Club World Cup after lobbying from Europe. This is from Matt Hughes, and this came out this morning, where FIFA is going to hold a consultation about expanding the Club World Cup to 48 in 2029 if this summer's edition is successful, after lobbying from clubs who failed to qualify for the tournament. This time around, 32-team competition kicking off on Saturday. Winners can get up to $125.8 million in participation, $25 million less than PSG banked from UEFA for their Champions League winning campaign, leading to concerns from clubs who've missed out. Barcelona, Arsenal, Liverpool, Manchester United, and Milan are among the big clubs with large fan bases who have not qualified. And unless FIFA lifts their cap of 12 European entrants, expansion is the only way to ensure more European competitors, according to Matt Hughes. Another possible change being pushed by Premier League clubs is increasing the cap of 2 clubs from one country, a restriction that led to Liverpool missing out despite meeting one of the qualifying criteria of having one of the best 8 Champions League records of clubs who did not win the competition between 21 and 24. Chelsea, Man City, Real Madrid qualified as winners during that period, with 9 European clubs qualifying for UEFA rankings because Madrid won the competition twice in 22 and 24. Next year's Men's World Cup, obviously, and the 2031 World Cup are going to involve 48 teams for the first time, so expanding the Club World Cup would be consistent, according to Hughes, with FIFA's new tournament model. FIFA sources said that although serious discussions regarding expansion had yet to take place, talks with all stakeholders about the Club World Cup format and structure would be held after this summer's tournament. FIFA General Secretary Matthias Grafström last week with The Athletic said all options were open for 29, and obviously it would be well received by European clubs. DAZN agreed to pay $1 billion for global TV rights in a deal that allows it to sub-license to other broadcasters, funded by a 10% investment by Saudi Arabia's SURJ Sports Investment, Saudi money underpinning the tournament, with the PIF announced as tournament partners last week, as well as Adidas, Coca-Cola, and Visa. After initially resisting, ticket sales have been mixed, according to Hughes. So yesterday, getting into all of the tournaments and things, we'll get into the results and we'll go through that really quickly. Money Mill LKA. First off, welcome. that is the billion-dollar question about the USMNT getting out of the group stage in the Gold Cup. So obviously, we're going to keep an eye on that. We know that that's going to go down. So results. It's Club World Cup. I don't need Club World Cup. I need yesterday's like World Cup. I don't need international friendlies or club friendlies. I need to find out what happened in Europe with the with CONMEBOL and all the other things. So of course you sit there and you're looking for finals, and you're like, come on now, that's all I want. FIFA, and it's like I just want standings. I'm not asking for much. CONMEBOL, by the way, Argentina 10 points clear, 2 matches to go. They're going to win the group. Ecuador at 25, Brazil at 25, Uruguay at 24, Paraguay at 24, Colombia is at 22. Then there's a gap. Venezuela is at 18 points with 2 matches to go. Bolivia is at 17. Peru and Chile are out when it comes to qualifying. So you got to keep an eye on all of that. Now, Oceania, UEFA, all the things. So, but that was the biggest thing. So scores and fixtures yesterday involving CONMEBOL qualifiers. So where's my date? So yesterday, Bolivia beat Chile 2-0. Uruguay, same score over Venezuela. Argentina and Colombia 1-1 on the Thiago Almada goal. Brazil beat Paraguay 1-0. Peru over and Ecuador in Lima was a goalless draw. Before that, once again, back on Friday, Venezuela beat Bolivia 2-0. Colombia and Peru was a goalless draw. Argentina 1-0 at Chile. Ecuador, Brazil a goalless draw. Paraguay had a 2-0 win at the Estadio Defensores del Chaco in Asunción in Paraguay back on the 5th. So that's where things are right now with CONMEBOL and the qualifying. So that is it for today. Tomorrow, we'll take you through what's going on. We'll get you prepped for everything going on with Atlanta United. We'll talk about what happened with the twos, and we'll let you know what's going on there. Late update from Ben Jacobs. Sonny to Galatasaray is all agreed to. So we'll keep an eye on that. But once again, twos, 4:30 pregame, 5:03 kick. Maddie Cruz and I are in Athens. Pregame show, you'll hear from Steve Cook. You'll hear from Sal Mazzaferro. We'll get you ready for the matchup involving Atlanta United 2 and Huntsville City Football Club. So we'll talk twos tomorrow. We'll talk Atlanta United tomorrow. Go watch the interview that Maddie and Jason did with Ronnie Dyla. Big stuff. Very, very cool interview, and it's very rare to get a sit-down of that length with a head coach in Major League Soccer. So go check out the interview that Maddie and Jason did. Thanks to Glenn Crooks. Thanks to Dylan Butler. Thanks to Tyler Pilgrim. Thanks to y'all for being a part of things here in the midweek. And once again, we're going to race up to Athens, call a match, and we'll turn around and come back, and we'll get you ready for Atlanta United and for NYC. Tomorrow, the Power Hour with Nico Moreno from Pulso Sports and from Sounder at Heart, and our buddy Nino Torres, who can talk about Dario Isugo heading to Chelsea, and he can talk about Victor Gyökeres possibly heading to Europe as well. It could be Manchester United. They're still trying to figure out a price tag. So thanks to everybody for today. Thanks again. We'll be doing it again tomorrow. And thanks again to everybody who is here. So let me say hi to everybody who was here this morning. First off, like I said, Money Mill, thanks for dropping by. Money Mill LKA. But you do have the billion-dollar question right now, getting out of the group stage in the Gold Cup. Morning, Derek. Morning, Lokeville. Let's see. So who else? Morning, Ropes. Morning, Dell. And let's see. Morning, Wiley. Morning, Pars. Morning, Ricky. And just one other thing before I go. Sorry, I double-clutched this. We've been talking about social media, and this was the one point that I think I probably wanted to get off my chest more than anything. Social media and everybody yelling and everybody's hair's on fire and so on and so forth. But you've also had folks calling out other folks. And this is probably something Pollyanna-ish, but I would love for it to happen anyway. I think that when we see folks having discussions through social media, you're talking past people, you're talking through people, you're not talking at people. I would love for us to continue to go back to the notion of having conversations with one another when it comes to this game. You got a beef with somebody, talk to them face-to-face. Call them on the phone, talk to them face-to-face, do whatever. Doing it through social media, all it does is gin up social media content and build up the extremes. If you got a problem with somebody, talk to them face-to-face. I'd love for, the Pulisics to sit there and talk to folks face-to-face instead of sitting there and going in back and forths. Let's go back to the days where we had interpersonal communication. look, if you're confident enough in your opinion when you just put it out there on social media, you should be just as equally confident in your opinion when someone dials you up and talks about you and wants to talk to you face to face. If you're not as confident when they call you up and talk face to face, then maybe the comment should not have been put out there on social media in the first place. But keep that in mind when you're looking at things on social media. Folks say things on social media to gin up interest and gin up conversation and back and forth and add to the back and forth. You got an issue with somebody, talk to them face to face. Be that confident of an individual when you've got something to say about somebody. Don't just leave it to social media, because all that does is gin up, and just it escalates things, and you get no real resolution. Talk to somebody face to face if you got a problem with them. That's your soapbox for today. Thanks for dropping by, as you always do. Back at it again, lesson 22. We'll talk about things. That's the official term. Nino and Nico in the Power Hour tomorrow. We'll talk about the twos, talk about any other fallout that happened from the national team, and get you ready for Atlanta and NYC. Don't forget, go watch the interview that Maddie and Jason did with Ronnie Dyla. That's it for another go-round of SDH. Since it is the end of the show, that means I get to do this. Back at it again, lesson 22, 4:30, kickoff, Atlanta United 2, Huntsville City Football Club. SoccerDownHere.Mixler.com and at SoccerDownHere.net. Play it safe, everybody. See you later this afternoon.